Monster is a fantastic show. I have already covered why you should watch it in my last video, but here I wanted to go into detail about how Monster made me love almost every single character, including very many minor side characters. I'm going to go in depth on some of my favorites, why I like them so much, and explain the writing technique Monster uses throughout its story to make each character arc so interesting, regardless of how long it was. It's hard to explain exactly what I'm going to go over in this video. Monster is a complex anime that needs more love, so I hope these videos get some traction to give more support to the series. I'm Wheeze, welcome to my channel, KBW. Let's get right into the video. If you haven't seen Monster, go check out my video on why you should watch it, because there will be lots of spoilers in this video. I knew there was something special about Monster after the first 4 episodes. The grounded, realistic drama sucked me in as a completely different anime experience than what most anime gives you. But I was a little worried after the first story plot points occurred, and it set into episodic storytelling with Tenma solving problems of various doctors and other random townspeople around the countryside as he ran from the police, being framed for Johan's murders. Tenma went from one person to another in these separate side stories that meant nothing to the main plot of catching Johan. At least, that's how it felt at first, but I soon realized everything mattered as a build-up to the final confrontation with this villain. The characters who had seemingly no connection to the serial killer through reveals in their character arcs suddenly became very important for Tenma's journey. This was the first thing that made the characters easy to love. They weren't filler used to get the story to a certain length. They all had a purpose and were tied to the main thread of Johan, or part of his mysterious past. It felt pointless, and I found myself dreading seeing a new character, but I quickly learned to be patient, as it paid off the time and investment I put into these people's lives. An example of this was Martin Riest. I did not like him at first, and he was connected to Tenma in that he was going to be treated by him after getting shot. But otherwise, we were getting his backstory, and I wasn't super excited about it. We had just gotten backstory with Nina and Johan, and so much focus on the main plot that I didn't want to have to spend time caring about a new character, which were introduced often. He was involved with Ava, but she really wasn't that important of a character either. It wasn't long until his importance became very evident in the story, and his relevance to the plot only added to the character himself, who was a tragic and fascinating person with extreme mental strength considering his past. He not only was a great character with an interesting history that brought more to the main plot with revelations about Johan, but he also brought major character development to Ava, who is one of the most developed and real characters I have seen in fiction. More about this later in the video. Lastly, he gave a lot to the themes of the story involving the value of life and the desire to live. That leads us to the second thing the side characters accomplished. Involved with the themes of the story, the side characters challenge Tenma's worldview. The main theme of the story is about the value of life, and specifically if any one life is worth more than another. I will be going deeper into that subject in a later Monster video, but the side characters definitely played a part in showing the faults of Tenma's obsession in hunting down Johan. Milan Kolas was one of the most prevalent examples of this in the series, with his plan to assassinate Peter Chapek to avenge himself and the people who lived with him. Tenma was very against Milan trying to kill Peter, and in the end, Milan dies accomplishing nothing except hurting those he was trying to avenge. Although it doesn't directly show how this affected Tenma, he witnessed all of this firsthand and saw the destruction of a man doing the same thing he was trying to accomplish. All this shows how the story uses side characters and their arcs for the progression of the main plot and main characters, which is very important and shows good storytelling. But Monster is more than that. It not only makes the characters important, it makes them likable, which is a very important distinction. There are many characters in fiction that aren't likable but are very important to the plot. Now, I don't believe characters need to be likable or relatable, but they do need to be interesting. Monster does all three. Urasawa uses a very realistic setting and equally realistic characters, which adds to their likability. None of the characters are just good or evil. They all have character flaws, desires, and reasons for their beliefs. Characters like Richard Braun and Inspector Lunge grew increasingly likable as their story unfolded, both having struggles surrounding their work life and family life, which we only get small glimpses into, but still adds a level of relatability amidst the high-stake murder investigation. And even better better example of this, however, is Ava Heinemann, who goes through some drastic development that pushes her to have to deal with her selfishness, drunkenness, and flippant, arrogant attitude. It shows how such an unhealthy lifestyle leads to bad situations, despair, and ultimately hopelessness that leads to being suicidal. She was never forced to learn how to get through hard times, and when they came, it completely destroyed her life. Again, Ava's story fits within the themes of Monster, as she, the rich drunkard with nothing left in life except a lot of broken relationships, who even helped Johann by reuniting him with the other evil individuals, was saved by a man with a bad history with women and was betrayed by the last woman he tried to help. But instead of rejecting her as just another person who would hurt him, he showed that her life had value, not just by saving her, but in even giving his life for her. This man was Martin Riest. Of course, Ava's storyline went through the entirety of the story, and there's a lot more to it. It's not surprising a story can give an unlikable character a good arc that can change the audience's perception of them. But Monster doesn't stop there. It gives depth and interesting situations to even some of the most unimportant side characters. Hugo Bernhardt appeared for one episode. His primary role is training Tenma how to shoot a gun and survive in a firefight, but he is also a warning for Tenma on the effects of the tragedy of violence. The mother of the young girl that lives with Hugo was killed by him, and the misery of the young girl is shown in that she never smiles or laughs in front of the man who killed her mom. However, Tenma brings joy to the family in the end, showing how he should be helping people, saving lives, instead of trying to hunt down a killer and become a killer himself. Now, this story isn't against bringing murderers to justice, but just that Tenma, someone sworn to protect and heal as a doctor, and a person believing all life is equal, isn't the one to do it. Hugo also sets up one of the main conflicts and points of tension for the story in if Tenma can actually kill someone. Whether he can kill his first person or not, Hugo says at the end of the episode, that is where the path splits. His story was heartwarming, memorable, and sad, and all of this happened in just one episode. The last thing I want to cover is how it makes the side characters interesting. Well, a better word for it would be intriguing. Mystery is one of the main genres of Monster, and it is often used to keep the characters interesting after their initial debut. The main way Monster accomplishes this is by using a formula I originally noticed partway through watching it. Almost all of the characters go through this formula, and while this is nothing new in the realm of storytelling, the way it so obviously uses it is fascinating. Also, Monster is such a fantastically written story that it never feels formulaic. In fact, this formula is actually used to make it feel fresh and engaging with each small character story arc. The first thing it does is show the character's external and internal conflict. Richard Braun is a great example of this. He is a detective and is getting close to Johann's crimes. Meanwhile, he has a past of alcoholism and struggles with not falling back into the habit. However, there's a deeper level of mental struggle here, with him having killed an unarmed serial killer while he was drunk, which cost him his job. This final twist comes at the end of his arc, when Johann explains that he had found that no one had seen Richard drink before his encounter with the serial killer. Johann explains Richard was not intoxicated when he met the serial killer, but was completely sober, and only started his battle with the addiction afterwards. He was of sound mind when he saw the pure evil of the killer's eyes and executed him. This final reveal is an added layer of complexity that brings so much more to the character. This happens with nearly everyone in the story. They have a main outward struggle, a main internal struggle, and then an extra third layer that usually ties their internal and external struggles together. The reveals of this third layer is some of the best moments in the series. Martin Riest had his moment in a flashback to his girlfriend that he claimed he had killed after she had an affair with her ex-boyfriend. However, when we get the full story, we see that Martin helped her overcome a drug addiction, but then he found her again on drugs and with her ex-boyfriend in the bedroom. She begged him to forgive him and apologized over and over again, even asking him to kill her for what she'd done. He simply turned around and walked away. Then he heard a gunshot. Running back, he found his girlfriend dead. Her ex, terrified, tells Martin she shot herself, pointing at the gun in her hands. That's when Martin committed murder, taking the gun his girlfriend had and killing that man. Through that backstory and the one about his drunken mother, who he left outside after she told him to and then froze to death, we see his hesitation to work with women isn't just that they're a pain, but that he truly cares about them, but only ends up hurting the women in his life. This ties to his extreme external struggle by showing us why he chooses to save Ava. Neither his mother nor his girlfriend really wanted to die, even though Johann's disciple tried to manipulate him that they did. And through this conflict, he rejects what his life experiences have seemingly been telling him and clings to the idea that no one really wants to die, even when they beg him to kill them. These added layers are used very powerfully. Millen's reveal is that he helped Peter Chapek across the border, so he feels responsible for his actions. Wolfgang Grimmer's reveal was being in Kinderheim 511, although he had a lot going on and a lot of reveals like this. Full video on Grimmer coming at some point in the future. Many other characters have reveals of being involved with Johann in some way, and this is all after showing their main internal and external conflicts. And for a lot of the side characters that only appear for a few or even just one episode, this extra layer is what makes them more real, understandable, likable, and most importantly, interesting. Even Tenma would have had this if his story was told a little differently. A doctor hunting down a serial killer that had killed many families and one of his hospital patients. Tenma believes no life is more valuable than another, despite trying to take the life of this man. But his extra layer is that he saved the life of this killer, which adds so much extra weight to both of his conflicts. In conclusion, the value of diving deeper into them is what really elevates the characters of Monster. It shows the complexity of life and gives its audience a better understanding of humanity, and that there's always deeper things about people that influence them to do the things that they do. Thanks so much for watching. If you still haven't seen Monster, go check it out. It's fantastic. In my Why You Should Watch Monster video, I tell you where you can watch it because it is a hard show to find. Please like this video if you liked it and want to help me out, and subscribe if you want to watch more videos from me. I have a lot more Monster videos and other anime related content coming out soon, so click the notification bell to get notified of my next releases. That's all from me. Hope you enjoyed. I've got more videos you can go watch on the end screen. Ciao meow!